Hi, I'm Marius from MS Photography. Welcome back to another season of Digital Photography Today, the show where you will learn how to become a better photographer or the master of your camera. Okay, now this week's episode we are going to discuss lighting and then also a free service called Lenstag. Now lighting is a huge topic to discuss. So we're only really going to scratch the surface, but I'm going to give you a few good tips that you can use to already improve your pictures just by looking at the light, because photography is light. If you put your lens cap in front of your camera, can you take a picture? No, there's no light. So photography is light, and it's not just the light. It's not as simple as going outside, there's sunlight, take a picture. Turn a light on in your room, take a picture. There's light, it's not the right light, okay? So you need to look at the quality of your light, and that will improve your photography. And that's why I say it's a very complex and huge topic to discuss, because there's so much that you can learn about lighting. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the time of the day. So early in the mornings, when the sun rises, you've got a magic hour. When the sun sets, you've got a magic hour. And you'll notice this time of the day, say for instance the sun is now rising. If the sun's rising in this direction, it's coming up here, obviously I will have a shadow being cast of me on the ground. Now that shadow will be very long and very soft. The more the sun rises like this, the shorter my shadow will become, and the darker and harder and more contrast. Basically just the lighting is not that nice anymore. Okay, so early mornings, your hour, your magic hour, and then also your magic hour in the night at sunset, sunrise and sunset, you've got your magic hour. You'll notice the lighting looks better. If you've got clouds, maybe you've got a nice landscape or a seascape, you've got that light shining through all the clouds, that nice sunset picture. That's the time of the day you want to take that image. You can go and look at the sunset and go in the middle of the day and look at that same scene, and you'll see the big difference. Now, this is how you improve your photography. You look at the light and you go to take the picture at the best time. Okay, now it doesn't mean that you don't take pictures in the middle of the day. What I do, this is tip number one. When my wife, Nanette, and I go out, maybe for weekend, or we just drive out to take some pictures, maybe stay overnight someplace, while we're driving and I get closer, or we get closer to the location, I already start to look at possible locations where I can take pictures. And then I notice where the sun is. So maybe there's a tree I want to take a picture of there. Okay, look where the sun is. The sun's going to set maybe there. I already work out what the scenario would look like later that day. And then I remember that tree. Okay, then I keep on driving. Oh, here's maybe a nice dam. Okay, the sun will have to maybe be on that side, or maybe the sun's coming up on that side of the dam. I don't know. I already look at the places I want to take pictures. Then when we reach our destination, I already know the shots I want to take. I don't go and drive and spend hours just taking random pictures and looking for good pictures. I already spotted the places I want to take pictures of. When we get to our destination, I get my gear out, and then I look at the watch. Okay, the time is like this. I'll go on my cell phone, or I'll go on a laptop or tablet. I'll look when the sun's setting, when it's coming up, and I'm already planning my shots. And then I go out at the best time of the day to take the shots I want. Then you spend less time getting very cool pictures. You don't have to just shoot 1,000 pictures and hope you get 5 good ones. So just look at your light, and immediately you'll start to improve the quality of your pictures. Okay, so what about the middle of the day? How do you take pictures in the middle of the day? Because the sun's up high in the sky and there's no clouds. Now this is called hard lighting, because there's nothing diffusing the rays of the sun. It's just harsh, middle of the day, terrible lighting. Okay, so do you take pictures this time of the day? Some people just don't want to. Otherwise, you'll have to improve on the lighting. You're going to have to change the lighting so that you can take the picture. So in the middle of the day, say the sun is now right here behind my head, and it's falling on top of my head here, all the rays of the sun, I will have shadows here below my eyes, and it looks terrible. So how can we fix this? Now this is tip number 2. You've got a pop-up flash on your camera. So pop your flash. If there's light outside and a ton of light, doesn't mean that you don't use your flash. Look at a wedding photographer. It's got a flash on, a big one, and it's always firing, because that person is filling in the shadows of the images, because I don't want to put the sun there right into my eyes, because that's what a lot of people do. When they take pictures of people, they've got the sun shining straight into someone's eye, and then they look like this. And it's like, okay, tell me when you're going to take the picture. And it's 1, 2, free, and I open their eyes like this, and they've got a weird portrait image. So put the sun behind the person, the subject you're taking a picture of, and then you'll find that the lighting will be behind the subject. It will also sometimes cast a nice rim light here, which looks awesome. But if you don't use your flash, the person will be underexposed. It'll look more like a silhouette in the foreground, depending on the light you've got. So then you use your flash, that's called full flash. And then you're filling in the shadow area. So now you've got a well-lit picture in front, and you've got nice sunshine behind the person. So that's tip number 2, use your flash. You also need to look at the direction of the light, especially if there's no clouds, and you've just got one bright ball of sunlight up in the sky. If the sun is on this side, I will have a shadow on this side. If the sun is on that side, I will have a shadow on this side. So maybe you're taking a picture of a nice tree and you look, wow, this tree has got the most amazing shape. And when the sunshine goes through, when the sun shines through that tree, you've got these nice shadows to play with. Okay, so now middle of the day sunlight is not that bad. You can create maybe an awesome black and white, high contrast black and white picture like this. Okay, so now you need to look at where your shadows will fall. So sometimes, again, like I said, when I scout pictures, I'll look, okay, the sun is now here. I want it to go through this tree like this. Okay, it's going to be there in about another 2 hours or 3 hours, and I'll just come back and take the shot when the sun is there. So you need to plan your shot. So that's the direction of the light. If you want to take a picture and you want to have light on the one side of your subject, almost like a studio picture, where the one side is dark and the other side is lit, have the sun fall on this side of the face. It's going to be a very high contrast picture. I would prefer to do that in the studio, but you can do that. And this is also where you start to use reflectors. So I'm going to show in a few moments, I'm going to talk specifically about this reflector, but I want to just show the reflective sides of this. This is a 5-in-1 reflector. I think it's 110 centimeter. That's the size of this. You get smaller ones as well. So if you're a teeny tiny person, you can get a smaller reflector. Okay, now this one has got a white side, it's got a golden side, and there's 3 more sides inside I want to discuss later. But just for now, you can use this. So if you've got maybe a subject here, and you've got sun shining here, but nothing on this side. Obviously this side will be lit, this side will be darker. Then you hold the reflector on this side, and that light is also shining on this, on say the subject or the tree or something you're taking a picture of. It will hit this and reflect this light back onto the side it's got no light on it. So it won't be that dark anymore. You can fill in the shadows by using your reflector. Okay, and I've also got 2 videos that I shot a while back just on reflectors. You can see them on the screen now. You can click on them. One is for outside and one is where I used this with an arm in the studio, and I created an extra light just by using the reflector. Okay, so you can also watch those videos. Right, so now you can use this to fill in the shadows if you're working with the direction of the light. And you can also feather it if you want to. For instance, if I've got the light shining straight on this, I can control the way I want the light to reflect on this thing. So I can point where I want the light to go. You can even bend this thing if you want, and you can play with the light. So if I want a lot of light on the subject, I can bounce a lot of sunlight onto the subject. If I want less light on the subject, I can just tilt it a little bit, and then you feather it. You make the lighting softer. So it's like having a power control button on your reflector. And these things really aren't that expensive, and they come in all different sizes and shapes. Okay, so now we looked at the time of the day, we looked at direction, we also looked at if you've got hard light, you can use your flash in the middle of the day to help to fill in the shadows if you're taking pictures of people. Okay, so don't always have your flash on outside, because maybe you're doing a landscape. Remember, your flash can only go that far. You immediately know if someone doesn't know their flash, if you're maybe at a landscape or a sunset scene at the ocean, and you're looking at people taking pictures, and their flash goes off, but it's pitch black dark. So the flash only goes a few meters, and then I know when they look at the back of their screen, they're not even seeing the sunset, or depending on how dark it is, they're just seeing flash hitting the sand. So especially if it's nighttime, you're in Cape Town and people want to take Table Mountain from the ocean side, and I see the flashes going off, I know they're getting a pitch black image with just white sand in front of it with a pop-up flash. So the flash, you only use it when you need it. You can pop it. Remember, when you're in program or in TV, AV, or aperture and shutter or in manual, you can control the pop-up flash when you want it to go off. It's only in the auto function where it usually restricts you, that you can't open it when you want to. Okay, so now we need to look at hard light. I already mentioned hard light and soft light. Now hard light is in the middle of the day with the sun and no clouds to diffuse the light. When you get overcast, that's where some people sometimes think, oh, I'm not going to go out. There's not a light. It's too many clouds in front of it. That's when you want to go take pictures. Trust me. Okay, because there's lots of times, especially for me when I'm taking nature type images, especially if there's a lot of trees and you've got sunshine coming through the trees, the sunlight coming through the trees, it's casting shadows, and there's places where it's dark and it's very bright. And the contrast is terrible to take a picture of. But the moment there's clouds, the light is diffused, and that's soft light. So you'll notice if you look at the same scene, just go look outside when the sun is shining and there's clouds coming over, you're just going to notice everything just looks the same. I know that some people complain that there's not a lot of contrast in the picture. You can add contrast later if you want to in Photoshop, but then your lighting is nice and even, especially if I'm doing a wedding. I know all the people's faces look great because the sky is nice and diffused, because the sunlight doesn't just shine down, it's going through the clouds, it's being diffused, it's bouncing all over the place. And then the entire location where you're at is usually just one bowl of soft light. That's why you use a soft box in the studio. That's that big box that's got your flashlight in. I've got a picture on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. That's a soft box. That's what I use in the studio to give me soft lighting. That's what I'm getting outside if it's overcast. One big ass softbox. Okay, so how can we get that effect when we've only got one ball of light up there, the sun, and no clouds? That's why I love these reflectors. So when I open this up, where's that section now? Remember I said there's 3 other sections in here as well. You've got the silver, and you've got black, and you've also got this one, which is called translucent. So how can we get softer light by using this outside? So say you're taking a picture of a person. I can have the sun falling on a person's face, that's fine, but then I can have someone hold this translucent section for me, and the light will come through this, and it'll be much softer light. So the person won't be like this, but then you've got a softbox outside. You've got the same as you've got in the studio outside. You've got bright light coming through this thing, and then you can take a nice portrait picture. You can also maybe take pictures of flowers. So if you've got the ground, if your flower here, and you can have this, you can hold it with your arm, or you can just have maybe a stick and hold it for you like that on the ground. You've got the sun shining through this thing on top of the flower, creating nice soft lighting, almost if you had a cloudy sky, but in the middle of the bright daylight. And then take a picture of the flower, creating soft light outside by just using this. Okay, so what do you do if you don't have a reflector like this? You don't want to go spend the money. I don't know if this is the same all around the world, but sometimes with your curtains, you've got it in your windows of your house, you've got a side curtain. It looks almost like this, and then you open that up, or if you've opened up your curtains, you've got that in front of the window so people can't see in. So you can buy that type of material. I'm just now calling it side curtain material. I don't know what the hell it's called. Okay, so you can go buy something like that and then create your own frame, put that on top of it, and create soft light using that. So you can do it yourself if you want to, but I find this works very nice, especially because it can fold up very small like this. So if it's within your reflector, you can put it away, keep it in your car permanently if you want to. If you make something yourself, it might be very big depending on what you create. Okay, so now we're going to do a practical exercise so I can show you the difference you're going to get when you take pictures using this. Now for the practical exercise, I wanted to go outside, but as always it's overcast outside, so it's not going to help me to show you the direct sunlight thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you indoors, so you can do this basically anywhere to practice this or to test it out. For the setup, I've got the Canon PowerShot SX50 on a tripod, and as you can see on the screen right there, I've set it to AV for aperture priority or aperture value, and then I went outside and I just broke a leaf off a tree. You can see there the little flowers on it, and I put it on a piece of white sheet of paper, And now you can clearly see, if you look here on the screen, you can see here the very dark shadows because my light source is just one LED video panel. Now another thing that I did not mention previously is, oops, just turn this Canon PowerShot screen back on, is that if you have a small light source, your lighting will be much harder. So the larger your light source, the softer your light will be. Now you might think, okay, but the sun is huge, but the sun is very far away. So the sun is still then a small light source. So here we have got one LED panel, which is a very small light source. And when you look on the camera, you can see when I bring this in, you'll see that the small light source becomes a much larger light source when it's shining through this translucent reflector. Now when you look on the Canon PowerShot screen, look at this very harsh shadows right here. And look what happens to them when I bring in this translucent section of the reflector. You can see it takes all those harsh shadows away. So this really helps you a lot to attain much softer light if that is what you require. But maybe the picture you're trying to take, you want those extremely dark shadows. So it depends on what type of picture you can take. So even if the lighting is considered bad outside, it's not necessarily bad. It might be that which you are trying to get for the specific picture you're trying to take. So you must always just look at the light and then decide which way you want to go. So let's take a picture. Now I'm on aperture priority and I've chosen f5.6. The camera will do the shutter speed for me, and I'm on ISO 640, and I've only got this one LED video panel on inside the room. So I'm going to focus and I'm going to take the picture. Now if you look there, you can see on the picture that we have that very hard shadow, and there's very hard shadows all over the place. So now let's take the exact same shot but bring in this translucent section of the reflector. I'm going to focus again. Now obviously we're going to have a little bit less light. So now we've got 15th of a second where previously we had 40th of a second. So we're losing a little bit of light. That's why when you go outside and it's overcast, you'll notice your shutter speeds are slower because the lighting is not as strong as with direct sunlight. So now I'm going to focus 20th of a second, take the picture, and when you look at this image, when I turn a preview on, you'll notice much softer lighting. So if you want to get softer lighting outside, use a translucent reflector or just make your own, like I explained earlier on in this episode, for the need when you want softer light. Other times it might be that which you want to take, like for instance maybe those harsh shadows. Maybe you want to make a black and white image and you want those harsh shadows. So lighting is only as good as you want it to be. You can decide. Sometimes bad light equals good light for the picture you're trying to take. Okay, so now we've really looked at a few good points about lighting. Choose the right time of the day. Go when the magic hour is there, if you can. Scout your pictures. Look at the locations you want to take a picture. Look for the best time of the day. Go take it then, if it's possible. I know sometimes you're touring, you're on holiday and you can't go back. Maybe you're in a tour group, so it's now or never, then take the picture. But if you can, if you are in control and you can go to that location when you want to, go back at a later time when it's better. And it also brings me to another point I forgot to mention, and I'm glad I remembered now. When you are presented with an awesome picture, okay, now this is a picture I took, I think it's okay, at a dam with a sunset. Now this was one of the shots where we drove to a location. I saw the dam. I was like, okay, I'll come back later tonight when there's nice clouds, or later today when the sun's setting, and take the picture. I got there and this was the site I saw, and I think it's a pretty nice looking dam with the sunset and the little green things there in the water. I don't know what it is, grass or something, I don't know, but I liked it. The next day I went back because maybe the clouds are different, because every day things are different. The next day it was completely overcast. Okay, there was no sun shining through the clouds and creating an awesome looking sight for me to take a picture of. So that is a very important point that I'm going to stress. When you are presented with an awesome picture you can take, don't be lazy and say, I'm not going to take my camera out now. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow we're still here for another day. The next day it might not be the same. So when you're presented with an awesome opportunity to take a cool picture, do it now. It happened to me 2 or 3 times already when I was too bloody lazy to take a picture, and later I went, and I want to kick myself. Okay, so trust me, take the picture when you have the opportunity. It might just not present itself again. Okay, so we looked at the time, we looked at direction of light, look at how light is falling, and then decide how you want to take your picture, at which time of the day, so to get the shadows perfectly where you want it. Use a reflector to fill in the shadows if you have to. If the contrast is too high in the middle of the day, use the reflective, the silver or the white or the gold, and fill in those shadow areas. If you want to have softer light outside, use the translucent section and create softer light. It's all about the light. Okay, so now we are going to look at an application called, or a service called Lenstag. But before that, if you have not yet looked at the painting with light section, it was on the previous video that I had on the channel, where I talked about painting with light. If you haven't seen it yet, go to the MWest website, mwest.co.za, and go look under shop, and you will find a title there. I recorded specifically as almost like an extra section to season 1, and in that videos we talk about using manual to create long exposures and then all the effects that you're now seeing on the screen. So I show you how to do that. There's a detailed video about which light you need to buy, where you can buy them for very cheap, how to set up the shot, how to set the camera, and I show you on the camera, on the SX50HS and on the Nikon D3100. I'll show you, or I do show you, not I'll show you, I do show you on the videos how to set up everything and then how we take the shots as well. So go have a look there. You'll notice it's on sale now for $20, as well as all the Photoshop training sessions for beginners and advanced for Elements and CS, as well as if you want to have the first season of Digital Photography Today on your tablet or your device or laptop, so you can take it with you wherever you go. You can also support the show and go grab a digital copy of that as well. It's only $12 and you support the show that way. Okay, so go check it out. And then the next thing I want to talk about, which is very important for me, there are so much negative and bad stuff happening every day online. You're either getting an email from someone telling you that this amount of money will be deducted from your bank account, you need to verify it here and stop the order or whatever. I get 2 or 3 of those emails from different banks coming through every day. No matter how many spam blockers you've got, they always find their way in. Always something negative. I wish those people that do that will actually just spend their brain power and their time and improve society and improve life for everyone, instead of going out and destroying and taking what they can from people. It really irritates the crap out of me when I see all these negative stuff happening. But I really love it when I see something positive happening, when someone goes out and creates something to help other people. So the service I want to talk about is called Lenstag. Now, it might sound like you need to have a lot of lenses to use it, but it's not just for that. The purpose of Lenstag is for you to basically take your serial number, you send it to the service, and you say what you've got. So you've got this camera, you've got this lens, or you've got a Canon PowerShot. This is your serial number. Then you take a picture of the serial number on your camera and you submit it to verify that you are the owner of this camera. And if you go to Lenstag, I think it's lenstag.com, if you go to the link, you will see an entire list of stuff that's stolen out there and all the serial numbers. So if you, for instance, maybe come across someone trying to sell you a lens, you can actually go and search on the website that serial number, and if that lens is stolen, you can report the person trying to sell it. So I think if everyone gets involved in Lenstag, it's completely free. It doesn't cost you a cent. It can really become a very important tool in helping photographers to keep their gear safe. Because if I now go to, if someone steals a camera and they go to a second-hand shop, if the second-hand shop knows about Lenstag, they can actually just type in the serial, this is stolen. Okay, so that will help shops from selling stolen cameras to people, because they'll know before they buy it. I know here in South Africa, if I go to a second-hand store, if they buy stuff from people, I see how they do it. They check ownership on almost everything. So the police is working with the second-hand stores to help with crime, and it's a reality. We have to live with it. So I think Lenstag is really it's almost like if you think about something like Google. They were small when they started out, but look at Google now. Everything starts out small, and it can really change people's lives. So go have a look at Lenstag. You can add lots of stuff on there. I've also downloaded to my phone, as you can see on the screen now, and I'm scrolling through stuff I've got. I've added a lot. I think it's only a few more stuff I need to add on there. But I know it's not guaranteed that if something goes missing, you'll be able to find it. But it's just one more way to make sure you keep your gear as safe as possible, and to stop crime for photographers in the end, that people don't necessarily want to take your stuff. Because if this is used all around the world and it becomes like a standard that shops scan your stuff through Lenstag, I think it can really become an amazing tool for people. So go check the site out. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything, and go list your gear on the site. Okay, so that's that for this week's episode. I hope you really learned a lot about lighting, and you are excited to go out and take some awesome new landscapes and really look at the difference, because you focused on your settings where you didn't really always look at the light. So now take your camera and now look at the light this time and see how you can improve your picture with that as well. So that's that for this week's episode. And then if you have any photographic questions or camera related questions, you can send it to askmwest@mwest.co.za, and I will try to answer it for you in a future episode. And then also, you want to do this, because if you haven't, why haven't you? Click the subscribe button and get the episodes as they come out. Then I will see you next week, same time, same place. Bye.